Every morning starting at 7 a.m., man. Revive is alive. I need y'all to turn your radios up. Spread the word, spread the message, man. Stay locked to Revive Radio each and every morning. Getting this good morning mix with me, your girl, P.O.C.
Find more information at reviveisalive.com. That is reviveisalive.com because Revive is Alive 365.
You are listening to Revive Radio. The views and opinions expressed on Revive Radio does not necessarily reflect ownership, management, and advertisers of Revive Radio.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You already know what time it is. ReviveIsAlive.com. Once again, ReviveIsAlive.com. Tune in. Revive is alive.
Welcome to Revive. It's about that time. Welcome to Revive. It's about that time. All I need is one mic. You know what time it is. Open up your ears. You know what time it is. Open up your mind. It's about that time. It's your girl P.O.C. Hey! It's your girl P.O.C. Hey! Proof of consciousness. Proof of consciousness. P.O.C. You know what time it is. Open up your ears. You know what time it is. Open up your mind. All I need is it's about that time. Welcome to Revive.
Yep. You already know what time it is, man. It's me, your girl, P.O.C., host of Revive Radio. We are back live on ReviveIsAlive.com, man. That's ReviveIsAlive.com. You gotta get up anyway, so why not get up with me, your girl, P.O.C., man, each and every morning starting at 7 a.m. I need y'all to tell a friend to spread the word, spread the message. We are back live right now. Man, today is Thursday, so we throwing it back each and every Thursday with this good morning mix. And once again, if you're an artist out there who got some good music, got a new project, got something coming out for the people, man, we want to hear it live on Revive. Send it our way at revive.poc@gmail.com. But I want to get into it with my special guest this morning, man. We have a jam-packed show for you guys each and every time we go live, but we have an amazing special guest sitting next to me right now. Miss Joanna, how you feeling this morning?
I am blessed. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to be sitting next to you. Yo, she looks beautiful. She looks gorgeous. She got dolled up. She had time this morning. She knew she was going to get up. I love it, sis. I love it, man. Definitely. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself and let the people know exactly who they're listening to.
So this is Joanna Jane of JB Enterprises. I am an economic change agent. And I know that sounds like a mouthful, but what that basically means is that I've taken a little bit of every part of my life.
Okay.
And I have pulled it together by the assignment of God to be able to make an impact in my community. So my background includes social work, counseling, financial education, and also real estate.
Okay.
Which through all of that has also birthed O'Hara Developments, which is a community development organization where we're going into underserviced communities and we're purchasing decayed properties, also reinvesting the profits after we rehab these homes into the local schools.
That's when you got my attention. I was like, yo, I need to sit with her. I need to figure out what we can do.
Yes.
And I need my audience to understand what is really going out here and how you two can get involved. And I really, truly appreciate the fact that you are involved because what you're doing is something that you have to have passion to do.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And where did you actually get this passion from? Where is the passion coming from?
So my family is not from this country. We're from the West Indies.
Awesome.
Big up to Trinidad and Grenada.
Yeah. Shout out to my folks out there. Yes, I truly appreciate that.
So our family came to this country.
Yo, the accent kicked in real quick. Anybody peep that? Real quick.
Just real quick. We're not too far from getting off the boat to come to America.
I love it.
But we came here with a passion for legacy. So although, I grew up here in North Philly, shout out North Philly, 16th and Allegheny. Although I grew up in North Philly, my mom always...
Know where you come from. I feel you.
There you go, right? My mom always said, no matter what, when you get to my doorstep, you pick up your West Indian heritage. So at home, it was like we lived in the islands.
I feel you.
So we spoke about education heavy. We spoke about legacy heavy. My grandfather, my father is 90. So to tell you about my grandfather, there's a totally different lifestyle. We're talking about people that barely had a proper home to live in, right? So my father always said, I didn't go to school with shoes. And I made the sacrifice so you could go to school with shoes. So every generation has to be better than the next. So growing up, I saw my father acquire property. I went with him to the Heckingers. I'm dating myself, guys. Heckingers was the original Home Depot and Lowe's. So he showed me how to pick out the proper lumber and how did you do profit analysis and all these different. I didn't get it then, but he planted the seed. So fast forward, as I'm going to association meeting to association meeting, and I'm speaking and working with people in the community, because I used to be a behavioral specialist as well. Awesome. What I heard was, I don't want to be pushed out of my neighborhood. How can I reclaim the land that God has given us?
Just a block in general, right?
Yeah, right, absolutely. So I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm cool with that.
It be like that.
I'm cool with that. So I started doing my research, and I said, okay, my dad, he's in his old ways. He's not really ready to go to the next level. He feels like what we've acquired and how we're doing our rentals are fine. I really wanted to take it to the next level. So I said, well, it's time for us to buy the block. So it's community development. And as I did more research, I said, none of this says for black people or for white people. It says for those that apply, for those that have a fund, for those that do steps 1, 2, and 3. So I started doing steps 1, 2, and 3. And I worked on this for over a year. Formed the city contract where now I pretty much have a faucet that I can turn on to acquire properties. We've recently created a fund, so now people can purchase shares in our company.
Let's talk about it.
And because they're also in opportunity zoned areas, which a lot of people don't know how that tax situation happens, now you're also able to get capital gains tax on profit. So whether you are, profit from books, profit from real estate, there's really an opportunity where you can have the benefit of the opportunity tax breaks.
And before we get into that, because that's heavy, that's a lot of things that I want to unpack there, right? But before we get into that, once you start doing, 1, 2, and 3, where did you see your dad? Was there a separation in that generation? You know what I mean? That generation gap. Did it grow bigger? Did it get wider? Did it close? Like, how was that? Because that's one thing that I'm dealing with my mom myself, is that we have a business. Right. We can really do something. I just need you to get that extra foot out the door. Not even in the door, because we already in it. I just need you to get the foot out the other door to get into this new door. You know what I'm saying? So how was that conversation?
So reality is you're going to have to sit on that island by yourself.
Okay.
Because they've done their part.
Okay.
So what I came to the point where I had to stop talking to him because now I'm doing things on a level that he can't relate to. My dad does not believe in debt, so everything that he does is cash, cash, cash. So here I am showing him how we could also leverage debt and be smart with certain things. He's not feeling that. He's good. So it required me to sit on the island and really pray and say, God, how could you give me this assignment? And the very man that has planted everything in me, like, he not holding my hand anymore. So I went off and did my thing on my own, but the conversation started to change when I started to bring deeds home that had my company's name in it, on it. Like, it just changed. So now he's one of my biggest supporters. He's not involved in anything that I'm doing. He supports me. He said, I'm still fine where I am, but he's happy to see that, I pray that my dad has long, long life, but I can comfortably say that when the day that God takes him home, that he'll know that the legacy continues with me.
I love it.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I asked that question. And you actually planted a seed in me just now to understand that some things that you have to do is by yourself, but that don't mean that you are alone. You know what I mean? Because the fact that your father is still supporting where he is, it's okay. Yeah. And if you would have stayed, and tried to bring him up with you, I think that would have held you back from a lot of opportunities that you would have not had right now, if that makes sense. Yeah. So let's get back into everything that you're doing. When you talk about the city, the blocks, the people, what city are you actually in right now?
So primarily I'm in Baltimore.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Because you can't put boundaries on your blessings.
Trust me, I know.
So
don't block them neither while you're at it.
Right? And any real estate developer will tell you can invest in other places where you don't reside. It's
actually smarter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost scary, I have to say, the support that I get in a city that's not my own. And it wasn't until maybe last week or maybe the week before when they had the mayoral debate at CCP, and I heard the changes that are coming.
Went.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, got to know what's happening at home.
Shout out to the Association of Black Journalists.
Yes, absolutely. It wasn't until then that I said, okay, because it came up about the third time at this point, that I got to come back home.
Okay.
I walked away from Philadelphia because Philadelphia sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it can feel like it's a who's who too much, and we're not getting to what our community actually needs. It's about whose face can go on the billboard, who can get the credit, but at the same time our communities are suffering. Or we open the door for the person that's going to be able to endorse that check. So what I've realized is at the end of the day, I have more support here than I realized, and I'm going to start working with some folks so we can have more impact here at home. However, I do have my financial literacy program. So O'Hara Developments is not just, as I stated, your typical, we're going to buy the house on the corner and flip it. Our profits are reinvested into the neighborhood schools that we're in. I have 4 schools here in the Philadelphia area that we have our financial literacy program in. As of yesterday, we formed a relationship with First Tee. So our kids will be learning business and golf because things happen on the green. We have to prepare our kids to level up. You know what I mean?
Tiger Woods just leveled up last month.
Absolutely.
He just did his thing.
Absolutely. So we are truly doing more than just flipping a house. I also sit on the board of American Heritage Federal Credit Union, their Kids and Hope Foundation. So a percentage of our profit there will be going to children with special needs for music therapy. Music therapy is one of the therapeutic specialties that children get the most success in. It's through music. So this is much bigger than, like I said, we're going to buy a house on the corner and flip. And I keep saying that because that's where we tend to get stuck. We get stuck in the, oh my gosh, I can make 50,000 real quick by foot. That's where you might start, but you can't stay there when you see what's happening in your neighborhood.
And I want to ask you this question, right? Because you're dropping a lot on us this morning. So when you think about, $1.3 trillion, when you think about that number, what comes to your mind?
That we can do it.
No, it's the spending power that we have. We spend that amount. Black people spend that amount every year. We have that amount of buying power each and every year. So when you think about the black dollar, how big is that black dollar?
It
doesn't even have any weight anymore.
It definitely does. And the reason why I can say that is because as we are pulling people in a room and the funds that we're actually raising, I didn't intentionally do this, but most of our supporters and investors look like me. So we think that we don't have it. It's just a matter of where are you choosing to spend it. So why not have a stake in an organization that has proof? I know people that have created funds with no property. I can run down addresses where we already have, stake where we are. So we have it. We just have to be mindful of where we spend it and what do we actually want to see. I think that we're still coming out of that mindset because I think that there is a shift. No, I don't have to think. There is a shift that's happening. We're coming out of that mindset where I have to have a Gucci bag or I have to have a Louis for confirmation. We're seeing more people actually supporting our own labels. Things are changing, but we have to keep pushing forward. We can't get comfortable because sometimes people try to say, we got to get back to entrepreneurship. We're now getting into entrepreneurship. I say we're actually getting back to entrepreneurship. We always were owners of our land, but through different things that we've experienced, we've gotten away from that. We've gotten really caught up, and don't get me wrong, as a woman that has multiple degrees, we've gotten too caught up in the educational system as that's our savior, and that's not necessarily our savior. That's one part of the piece of the puzzle.
And where do we learn these things at? What would be like, let me just go into a book. What would be like a book that you would drop for people to learn to even have this mindset, of going forward, thinking forward, moving forward, buying forward?
So you cannot do this, in my opinion, with just knowledge of construction, knowledge of urban development. I honestly believe that it starts with your wealth mindset. So one of those is the mindset of a millionaire. I can't tell you the name of the author, but if you look it up, the mindset of a millionaire. Also the book called Soar. That's by Bishop T.D. Jakes. I follow him heavy. I actually just came back from the Pastors and Leaders Conference.
Putting that spiritual in there. I feel you. It be like that.
Because it takes mental toughness to do this. Because you have to first understand what your assignment is in this process.
It takes mental toughness to do this. Like that is like the biggest gem that I need each and everybody to take with them that she said this morning. Mental toughness. And you're a social worker too at that. You know what I mean? So you really know a little bit about that. A lot about that, I should say. But keep going.
So mental toughness, because especially if you're a woman, you have to understand I'm working in an industry with people that don't primarily look like me and that are majority men. So I have to go in there knowing that my data, my statistics are actually right. I've done my research, and I can still walk in looking fly with my crown looking right.
Yes.
You know, so you can't get intimidated by the rooms that you're in. So I would say those 2 books are great to start with. When you want to start really getting into specifics, I think that one of the books that you must read is How to Kill a City.
How to Kill a City.
That book will teach you that what we're seeing in gentrification is not new. This was all a design plan for our neighborhoods where they once lived are now, you know, super cheap. Has a lot of we have a lot of poverty in these areas, but now they're starting to come back into these neighborhoods, buying it up cheap, and then turning around and causing our taxes to go up. So it was all there was all a system. And if you understand the system, you will know how to get into the game. I was sharing with my best friend this morning that we're already in Canaan and we don't know it, because we don't have the knowledge. So if we start seeking the knowledge, we'll know that we're actually in this time right now, we could be drinking milk and honey. I truly believe it. I really, really do, because the things that I learned, I'm like, wow, our people need to know more of this. It's really not that hard.
And that's exactly why I asked you about the books, you know what I mean? Because this is, who you're speaking to right now is millennial based, you know what I mean? So we need to understand how we can put these damn phones down and actually pick something up with some substance that can actually get us to the table so we can eat, you know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So when it comes down to making sure that we have the words to spit out even when we're at the table, we need that knowledge. We need that fact, so it won't be all opinionated, because a lot of us are coming to the table with a lot of opinions, and we can't sign no contracts with opinions.
Absolutely. This is the other thing when I go back to mindset. You have to know that everything that you need is already in you. And it doesn't have anything to do with what your parents say. That's when you were asking me about your mom. It has nothing to do with it. The way that you came into this world, how you look like your parents, right? But when you die, you're going to look like the decisions that you made. So you can't hold on to all of that stuff. You have to let it go and change your mind. At our conference, Bishop Jakes was saying, you know, God is the only physician that can do a brain transplant. You got to change how you think. Because that's the only way that you're going to have the mental toughness to walk into these rooms, to advocate for your city, to talk about what you want to happen in your neighborhood, and to pull everybody together. Because some people are going to feel like it's not possible. You know, they are already building up all over the place. It's no way for me to get in. But I'm telling you, if you get your self-directed IRA and you pull in that money that's sitting in that savings account earning point less, and we pull all this stuff together, and you stop buying a couple Chanel bags, I'm sure that we can buy a few things on this block. So that's what brings me to Real to the Estate, which is a wealth education, I almost want to say ministry the way it comes out, but it's a wealth education.
Real to the Estate.
Yes, and it's the number 2, because this is our second chance to get it right. We're already in the land, so we got to know just to seize the moment. So I do monthly wealth education workshops. I'm looking for a space where we can just meet on a regular basis, and we don't have to always, you know, change spaces. But right now we meet every first Wednesday of the month, and we're talking about a different area of wealth education. This is really something that God placed on my heart, because I'm walking into these rooms and I'm realizing that it's not easy, but it's also not as difficult as we think it is. I think it comes off hard in the beginning because you just don't know, right? So every month I bring somebody in that's teaching us on what we need to do. So our first month I brought in Brian Murray, who is the owner of Blueprint for Finance, because he taught us about a lot of the new tax loopholes and how that can benefit your business and all these different things. The second month I brought in Kevin Lewis of Promethean Credit Consulting Agency. He came in and taught us all about business credit. So we're not meeting the first Wednesday. We didn't meet the first Wednesday of this month. However, we are meeting next Wednesday, and I'm actually going to be hosting a workshop, and I'm talking about buying the block on a community development level. And I'm bringing in a guest, Danielle Pierce, who's out of the Chicago area, and she's going to be teaching us about property preservation and tax lien acquisition. So I'm doing this so we can no longer say we don't have access. Our tickets are $30. That's McDonald's money nowadays.
Or Uber Eats, right?
Or Uber Eats. So I'm doing this because we die from the lack of knowledge, and we have to stop saying that nobody told us and we don't know. And we have to stop being the people that wait 20 years and move out of the hood, and now you're trying to come back you should have been doing this while you rising at the same time.
And then we also have to be, we also have to stop being the oppressors to ourselves. We oppress ourselves so much because we're like, $30, I'm not paying $30 to go get this, but this $30 will turn into $30,000 real quick. You know what I'm saying? And that's because you didn't take time to not necessarily understand what you value and what you wanted to support at that time. But I want to ask you this too, because you use the word community. And what does the word community mean to you? Like just the definition of community to you.
When I think of community, I think village. When I see that, and I say that because it instantly takes me back to the islands where my family is, and to see how everybody really like loves on each other. Who's looking at this person's house when they're gone, and who's feeding this person's children, if they're working. We really take care of each other, and there's no there's boundaries to a degree, but it's not real boundaries, And I really believe that for me, community is us putting our personal feelings aside, sometimes we got to ask God to kill this flesh. This right here gets our feelings really get in the way, and really looking at things from a bigger view. Like what if we really got together and we said, how do we want our land to look for our grandchildren? How different our moves would look like, how different our thoughts would be. How different would our educational system? We'll be doing way more innovative and creative things if we were more forward thinking as a community, and not necessarily worrying about my house and how this looks for me. I'm gonna put up this huge gate because I don't want anybody looking in over here.
And only picking up your trash when it's going to blow in your yard anyway in 2 days.
Right. So if I'm always thinking about my neighbor, I'm a servant at heart. I love serving, and I think this is why God has blessed me. And sometimes I think he blessed me too much. I'd be like, I didn't ask for that. But, if you're thinking about your neighbor consistently, you're always going to be taken care of, because what you're doing for your neighbor, it's going to flow on you too. I always tell people about the unexpected call. Most opportunities that has been provided to me is because I was serving somewhere. I was willing to hold a bag, give water, just to be in the room because I needed the information. Sometimes you have to be the one willing to hold the light. Not necessarily being on the other side, being shined on. Because at some point, somebody's going to call and say, you know what? She's always doing, she
a hell of a light holder.
And that's how, because I don't have 15,000 followers, and I'm not J Mark, but I know what to do. So now through that, even for your show, somebody just added me. I was like, oh, okay, thanks.
because actually, like, once we figured out what you were doing, and I really followed what you were doing, I'm like, she's doing something for the people. And like I was saying, that's why I appreciate you, because it has to come from passion. And that's another reason why I wanted to ask you about community too, because what do you think about just community development? Because one thing that we're talking about is community and putting the unity back into community, but when it comes to actually developing the community, especially buying back blocks, it's like, all right, we bought the block, now all of us are here, now how are we going to develop the community that we're looking for? And you're a visionary, you know what I'm saying? So what is the visions that you see for the blocks that you're buying and you're assisting other people to buy?
So our vision is that as we buy, we reinvest in schools. We're providing wealth education to the students as well as the parents. We're doing mixed living, so that means we have some commercial, some residential. We're also going to be having artist housing.
I love it.
Artist housing is very different than your traditional residential housing. So for people that don't know about artist housing, it's kind of mapped out very similar to Section 8, but they cater to those that are in the arts. So for example, let's just say that we have a building that may have 20 apartments.
I love it.
50% of those apartments will go to those that are in artist housing. They have to provide a portfolio, show what they've been doing. They have to qualify. But let's just say that for a regular renter, it may be $1,500, right? Well, for those that fall into the artist housing category, theirs may be 50% of that, and the government makes up the rest.
Exactly.
So here you are taking care of those that are really looking to live out their gifts and be entrepreneurs. Now we also have other commercial spaces where people can come in, and now you have more job opportunities. We also are partnering.
You better have everybody moving to Baltimore. Well, you said free housing.
And that's why I said, after the meeting and after having some very strategic meetings since the mayoral debate, I'm coming home.
Okay.
I'm coming home. Actually, you
got 2 tenants. Your mama, you ready?
I'm coming home, and I'm excited about it. And at first I was like, well, we got rental property in Philly. I'm just going to go ahead and do Baltimore. And I love Baltimore. However, it's time for me to come home and do some things here. And So to get back to the vision, so now as we have commercial spaces, we have people that are able to come in with their businesses, provide job opportunities.
I love it.
We also have a relationship with the with HUD, so which is the same thing that you can do here in Philadelphia.
Speaking of Baltimore, you got this guy in office. I didn't want to say his name because you said HUD, so it's just all tied together.
So now you have your housing counseling programs, which is another pipeline of where where those people, they're already going through different workshops to improve their credit, learn home ownership skills, things of that nature. Now, as they come out of those programs, they can actually qualify for what we have as our affordable housing. So that's giving somewhere around 25 to 50% a break in the market value of the house, so they're not paying as much as somebody else that may have a stronger history in terms of income and things of that nature. So our partnerships, they're very strong. We actually are proposing to Walmart and IKEA to support us and to support us in furnishing the homes that we're giving one free house away a year to a family in need. That's actually a child that's attending the school in the neighborhood that we're building in.
From anywhere.
Correct.
That's what I'm
so
talking about.
we're
That's
not
keeping that dollar circling in the first
go.
place. That's keeping that money in the community so it can keep coming and coming and coming.
Correct.
I feel you. Like every other culture is doing right now.
So I can go on and on and on, but as you can
please
see,
do.
as you can see, we really have this thing mapped out where, as you said, the dollars circulate, but the love and the unity circulates.
Yes.
And we're also going to we actually have a church in Baltimore that we have a relationship with, because I think it's very important that we support our religious institutions within our community. So, such and such Baptist church, so, y'all need a roof? Okay, so we're going to take care of that as well.
And they will, in return, support the actual community members.
Correct.
And that's the one thing that I see that's lacking in our urban neighborhoods, is that the churches is not supporting the members and the members are not supporting the churches.
When the church is the community.
Exactly.
Not the building.
So exactly. See, she trying to take y'all to church. I wasn't trying to go there. But yes, I definitely agree with you on that. And I wanted to ask you about this too. So, especially like in a city of Baltimore, you hear nothing really positive. You hear a lot of information when it comes to like the crime rate, homicides and different things like that. Shout out to Marilyn Mosby out there trying to do her thing. I appreciate you, sis. But yes, all at the same time, you hear the negative connotations about urban cities, especially Baltimore, a city like Baltimore. So how do you push that narrative? Like, how are you persuading, others to understand that Baltimore is a city for you and about you, and you can come and develop, and you can come have a white picket fence, you can have 3 kids and a private school education and all the above?
It's not really a hard conversation, to be quite honest with you. Baltimore has developed a lot. The conversations that you hear probably people talking about now are things from like years ago.
Okay.
Every time I go down to Baltimore for work, it looks different. I'm like, God, what in the world? I was just here last week.
Okay.
So you have people that are running in our neighborhoods already.
Okay.
Same places that you're thinking like, oh, I can't live there. No, they're riding bikes.
Okay.
It's already changing. And because DC has already developed so much, and it has blocked people out.
Hometown.
Hey,
yeah,
all right. It's my second home. My bestie's down in DC. So, because DC has developed so much, you have people that work in DC and they look at that 30-minute roughly commute and they're like, you know what? If I can go here and get a house way cheaper than what I would pay in DC.
And get some grass.
Hold on. And the amount of incentives that Baltimore is actually providing for people to move there.
95 north and south.
My goodness.
Right there.
Man, our realtor for O'Hara Developments, when we had a meeting in December of last year, when he did a presentation, he expressed that, last week, the week prior, he actually took someone to the settlement table and all they had to bring was $100 to close. Because he was a teacher, because he also worked not too far from Johns Hopkins. He didn't have to do anything. So, when you're talking about having a conversation to encourage people, the conversation's already happening. It's already changing.
You just have to know
just have to know. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then let me ask you this too. So especially when it comes down to millennials and credit, you talked about finances, different things like that. A lot of us are stuck because of the student loan debt that we have compiled. You know what I mean? That we have piled all the way up to the top. And then a lot of us are stuck because we have multiple degrees, or we have a degree, but we're only making anywhere between $9.25 and $11.25 an hour. So when it comes down to being in your mid-20s, late 20s, and actually starting to go out there and investing and trying to get into stocks and trying to get into bonds and different things like that, and real estate too. What are your advice, for us? We need to know, because I want to get involved. Our friends want to get involved, but we got to pay $300 a month on student loans.
Right. So
that's our mortgage.
I'm going to stay in my lane and not speak too much on student loans. That you got to talk to the student loan doctor. Shout out to Sonia.
Yeah, shout out to Sonia.
Right. So, but there are ways that you can go about handling your student loans, so that way you can take care of other areas where you can still build capital. I would say that if you are really strapped and you feel like this is something that you want to do and funds are tight, the very first thing that you need to do is do a budget assessment. Where are you currently spending your money? I sit with people. I'm a licensed financial coach, and before I can do an investment, I always do a budget analysis, and I always tend to find that people are spending a lot of money on the dining out, the buying lunch every day. And I met with one young lady. She was spending $750 a month and didn't even realize it. Because on food. And I'm not talking about groceries. I just said dining out and lunch, right? So she makes good money, and technically she can do that, but based upon her goals, it's like, I need to dial this area back. So go and do a budget, see where you're actually spending. And then on top of that, after you've done your budget assessment or your budget analysis, what are you willing to sacrifice or put on hold for some time so you can actually start getting more into the real estate game? Are you willing to downsize that car? Are you willing to maybe deal with annoying parents a little bit longer before you run out and get an apartment? Like, all those things play a factor. When you first come out of school, if you have a job that's pretty much guaranteed and you have that letter, there are some mortgage lenders that will actually will approve you based upon the income that you're going to actually make.
Okay.
So if you think about that, look at the fact that you can actually get a multi-unit. Right? Now you live in one and you're renting out the other one. You might live in one and also, share that with a roommate while you're renting out the two upstairs. So it's multiple ways that you can get into the real estate game. I've never done wholesaling, but I do know people that have wholesaled for some time, and as they're getting $15,000 here, $10,000 here, $20,000 here, they're saving their money up so they can actually, go and then acquire property. So there's multiple ways that you can do it. I always love to see when people come together. Like, there are some bad, I have to say sisters. Hey, guys, I love you.
We winning right now.
But
it's okay.
There are some bad sisters that have come together and say, listen, I don't know this part, I don't know this part, but we gonna figure this thing out together. I have $20,000 in my IRA so far. Hey, I got $5,000, but you know what? Together it's still equal $25. What can we do? And they're making moves. So don't just look at what you have going on. Consider what does your neighbor have going on.
That's the village.
Yes, call a meeting. If you can call your friends and say, hey, where are we going out for happy hour on Friday? You can call those same friends into a room, order some pizza, and say, listen, how can we come together and buy the block? What resources do you have? What money do you have? Who do you know in politics? And have a think tank over some pizza and some water. I'm not a big fan of soda, so I'm going to say water.
With you on that. We got to keep our skin glistening.
That melanin popping.
Definitely with you on that. And what about for entrepreneurs? Thank you for that tip. So what about for entrepreneurs, for, the people who are not making a consistent paycheck? Sometimes they get paid once a month. Sometimes they get paid.
Oh, you talking to me?
I'm just saying, I'm talking to you, me, her, everybody. You know what I'm saying? We get paid once a month, every 2 months. Sometimes we get paid 3 times a week. It depends on how the business is flowing for that period of time.
So it can definitely be challenging at times for entrepreneurs. I did calculated risks.
Okay.
So while I was working for Mastery Charter School, which is one of the, I love Mastery, so big up to them.
They have multiple schools.
Yeah,
now.
They do. But while I was working at Mastery, that's when the first time I actually got into my licensed life of financial education. And as I was doing insurance and investments and so forth, I said, okay, I'm already living off of my current salary. I'm making this work. So this additional money, I don't necessarily need, so to speak. So let me just stack this up. So I found, a moderate aggressive account and I had money just flowing in. And anybody that knows, about the financial industry, when you're doing insurance and investments, you can easily make like $1,000 in an hour, $1,500 an hour. So, you make pretty good money. So I just stacked and stacked and stacked. My first house, we actually had that as a flip. So, we did the whole 203K loan. Anybody knows about 203K loans?
I know, I'm about to say you got to break that down.
I'm going to break that down real quick for you, but you definitely want to do your research. This is where you can actually purchase a home with one loan and get the money to be able to rehab the house. So you don't have to go through the process twice.
Teach me.
Yes.
Teach me.
Yes. So that's the 203K loan. It's a FHA loan. And make sure if you're going to do this, let them know that as you are rehabbing at least 50% of that house, that you have to rent someplace. So you can actually put your payments on the back end and not pay rent and mortgage at the same time. So that's what we did, right? So now when I decided to make my transition, because I realized the only way that I was really going to grow, I had to leave my comfort zone. I hope y'all caught that.
Yes.
The only way I was going to be able to grow, I had to leave my comfort zone. I could have literally stayed at Mastery and retired. I had no reason to leave. But this guy up here had me on assignment, so I had to make a move. So either way, at the time of transition, we put the house up for sale, so there was a profit from that. I looked at my portfolio. I said, oh, okay, there's a little something in here. But that was a time of sacrifice. So now with those funds, I've been able to, I didn't even know O'Hara Developments was coming. But when the opportunity came, I was ready, and that's what put me in a position to start acquiring our properties cash and not necessarily having to rely on the bank. So all that in saying, entrepreneurs, find savvy ways to get additional streams of income that doesn't necessarily always require you physically to be involved. So that way you have more passive income coming in and have a plan for your money. I tell people money is like a disobedient child. If you don't have a plan for that money, if you're not telling it what to do, it will do whatever it wants to do. So you can actually do that. And I mean, even as entrepreneurs, you can still get into the wholesaling game. There's a lot of people that's out here that's teaching how you're able to really do it. But it can be difficult for us. The reason why I said that, just kind of going back, because we don't get easily approved for loans because we don't have our W-2.
Exactly.
When we go for a loan, they typically want 2 years of a tax return statement, things of that nature. But again, by coming together, somebody else in that group might have that. Now you're putting all the funds together to be able to make that purchase. So I feel like entrepreneurship almost forces you to put on the hat of a community member and that village mindset, because you really can't do it by yourself.
We were literally just talking about that, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And that's one lesson that a lot of us millennials need to learn ASAP, or we're not even going to last long, is that we're not able to do it by ourselves. I know we, are in a state where we can be self-taught because of Google and YouTube and different things like that, but there are other people that are going to be placed in your life to be in that position for a reason.
Yes.
And that's something that I'm learning myself.
And can I just make a comment about this Google thing?
Please do.
Because I run across, potential clients often that said, well, when I read this on Google, it said this and it said that. Google, Yahoo, the internet period is for general information. When you are doing financial planning, when you are doing real estate planning, those are things that are specific to your goals and desires. So if my goal number one is to retire at 50 and have a condo and downsize from this 4-bedroom house or 3-bedroom house that I have, that's for me. So it's not going to look the same way for you if you still wanted to have a 5-bedroom house and have a lot of land for your grandchildren. I may not care anything about that. But that then means we have to go about our plans differently. So I say that because a lot of times we don't want to invest in the professional. I am a licensed professional. I've went to school. I have federal licenses for a reason. People have gone out here and invested in their education for a reason. So you not necessarily knowing much about that particular lane, pay for the coach, pay for the mentor, find a way to connect with these people so you can make intentional decisions, so you can actually have intentional results. But if you want to just do it on your own and go to Google University all the time, you're going to be playing the game and always falling on your face, and hopefully you might luck up and do it right. But how many years did it take you to get there?
Facts. And she said it in a nicer way. What I'm simply going to say and sum it up is invest in yourself, goddammit. In order to get what you need to invest into yourself. And that means sometimes spending money on other people because they're in that position to get you where you're going.
Correct.
I understand that. And if you do what you got to do, that money's going to come back. And if they're the professional like they say they are, they're going to make sure you make that money right back. Definitely. And I want to ask you that, speaking about your profession, because you wear many hats, but I want to ask you about mental health, because mental health is real, especially in our community, especially when it comes down to entrepreneurs, artists, and so much more. Mental health is something that we are talking about now, but we used to shy away from it. But it is something that is, on the spectrum of let's have a conversation about it right now. So when it comes, down to mental health, can you just talk about it just from your professional state of mind?
So to be transparent, I have not actively worked in the mental health field in some years now.
Okay.
I actually took that hat off because for the professional, it can be draining on us as well.
Okay.
Thank
you for that, truth.
Yeah, I'm being very honest about that, because what we tend to do, we do a lot of pouring out, and we're not really good with our own self-care. So I burnt myself out working in the mental health industry. I was working as a behavioral specialist, primarily with children that was on the autism spectrum, also providing services in school, and it requires a lot on the professional, because you got John how he needs to be while he's at school. But what happens when John then leaves school and goes back home into that environment, that when he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't have somebody that says, "Good morning, John, how are you? Are you feeling okay? Did you sleep well?" It's BMF this. So his whole mindset has to be reset when he comes back to school. So after a time, I said, this is not where I can stay. And I think what really got to me the most is understanding the health insurance industry, of how services are approved, and that how our children are easily labeled because of the simple fact that they're not following a system, so to speak, of how it should look. We don't have really recess anymore. So where is he supposed to release this energy? We don't have break sessions in class. So now, because he moved a little bit too much, we're going to go ahead and label him ADD, ADHD, load him up with pills and all these different things. We're going to falsify information on treatment plans. Hey, let me tell you, I'm speaking what it is. We're going to falsify information on treatment plans. We're going to have these private conversations with the psychiatrist so we can then get reauthorized so the agencies made money. So when I saw that, I said,
that ain't for me.
That's not for me. I can't stay in this area, much longer. So overall, in the mental health industry, I focus more on children. But I will say, even as someone that has went for therapy, it's very important that you do this. And if you are looking to be an entrepreneur, let me just say this before you give your 2 weeks notice. Go sit down and talk to somebody.
I wish I had that advice. I wish I had that advice.
Yes, go and talk to somebody, because you want to make sure that you're not doing this for the wrong reasons. True entrepreneurship, in my opinion, is assignment work from God. It is purpose-driven work. Agreed. It is not work that just looks cute and say, I'm about to get money and I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. It does not work that way. And it's going to test you every day to see, are you ready? You sure you're ready? So you want more? So I'm going to give you more pressure. You like how this feels? I'm going to give you a little bit more. With every blessing, there's more burdens. So
new levels, new devils, man. I'm trying to
go, you know, and your family gets tested. Gets tested in this area. I'm newly divorced. I didn't know that was going to happen. It wasn't necessarily a product from me becoming an entrepreneur, but all that and saying it all happened around the same time. So what would happen if I allow all these outside things to affect my assignment work? Now I'm not living a life of purpose. So you really want to make sure that you are getting the guidance that you need spiritually, mentally, before you go out here, because it's real. And don't be afraid to sit across from someone that is willing to really help you break this stuff down, because it can be stressful. There has been times, especially as a financial planner, where my bank account did not look like it used to look, and I'm like, hold on now, wait a minute, I don't like how this feels. And to then have to go out and teach people about credit, teach people about good stewardship, but my account looking a little sketchy. If I would allow the things that I saw to block what I'm supposed to be doing, many people wouldn't be blessed from what I'm supposed to be giving. So you can allow your eyesight to block your insight. It's super important that you sit down with someone and don't feel inadequate because you decided to tap into your insurance. So for those that have, insurance, it is covered. You have a platform there for mental health where you can go and sit with a counselor. It's needed.
And let me ask you this question, and I'm not sure if you would know the answer to this, but do you think that some lenders block blessings because because of health reasons, like how some life insurance policies won't give you a life insurance if you have a pre-existing condition? Do you ever see that with lenders?
I have seen that before. So what you have to do, so this is why it's so important that you're working with a well professional in this area when it comes to life insurance, especially if you're on any current medication or if you're receiving any services. There's typically an area in the application called the agent report. So what I would do when I'm sitting down with someone, I would say, I need to know what the milligrams are. When were you first diagnosed? When was your last hospitalization? Because the more information that I provide to the underwriter to show them that you are qualified for a life insurance policy, the better chances that you'll actually be approved. But if I just check off that you have schizophrenia, they're going to go off of their own report of what that looks like. You look like someone of risk, that they're going to have to pay out this policy sooner than later. Right, absolutely. But if I go in and I say, hey, they go to therapy weekly, they take this medication, they haven't been hospitalized in 3 years, it looks a lot. I'm telling a story. So as someone that is able to do life insurance, because I don't necessarily like to call myself a life insurance agent, you are telling a story about this person so they can actually be qualified and approved for life insurance protection.
Wow. And then also, so when it comes down to buying a house, do you ever see somebody's mental health blocking them getting the loan or from the bank or anything like that? Do they have to show their health while they're trying to go to closing or anything like that?
No, I've never seen that before.
Okay.
And I'm not a mortgage specialist,
okay,
so I'm not sure if that's conversation that's had on the inside. From what I've always seen, it's more of showing your financial ability to be able to manage that particular loan.
Okay.
Yeah, more than anything else. And obviously, if you're walking in with cash, I mean, that's not even
a
conversation.
And I want to ask you this last question, too, because this is something that, a lot of people who have been in my life told me as far as, like, saving and investing is that whatever you do, pay yourself first. And I wanted to know your opinion about that. About that.
It is super important. So the very system that I described, which actually my book is being relaunched because she jumped Wealth Strategies to Jumping Smart, is being relaunched October the 17th, 2019, which is my birthday.
Awesome.
And I show people a strategy.
Are you a Scorpio?
No, I'm a Libra.
A Libra, okay.
I'm a Libra woman.
Okay.
So I actually show people the system that I actually used. I'm not going to say that I created it, but I could just tell you that one day I was drawing out some circles and I did a path, and I said, okay, if I put 70% here, 20% here, 10% here, how that could look. So all of it was paying yourself first. So when I described to you earlier, when I explained to you earlier that I was working primarily at Mastery, and that was my 9 to 5, and then I was doing my financial services in the evening. Well, what I did, I actually had a certain percentage. I think it was like 70%. I had 70% going into my investment portfolio. So that's money that never hit my checking account. So that's a form of paying yourself first, especially if you put it on an automated system. I posted this the other day. Automate your savings. It's a great way to make sure that if you happen to be acting a little weird one day and you want to do some extra spending, at least you know that system has already taken money out of your account. Or even if you might forget, I forgot to go to the bank or I forgot to get on my app and transfer the money. Automate your savings. It takes care of itself. You don't have to think about it. And then when those unexpected situations pop up, like emergencies, or maybe you need to make a quick move with something, you have money that's already there. I'm a big fan of paying yourself first. You are your first responsibility before P.O.C, PGW, or anybody else.
Tell them, man. I feel you on that. And I love that you said automate your savings and not automate your bills, because they be trying to get these, automated drafts coming out. I'm like, nah, you ain't gonna get me on this one.
So there are some bills I think that you should automate because it does help for credit purposes. So if you have, sorry, babe, sorry. So I would say like your car loan, yes.
Okay.
Your mortgage, yes.
Maybe
I don't even necessarily care for where I'm renting right now, so I pay them manually because sometimes they be, so
just in case,
right. But if you have a mortgage, have that come out automatically. Your car loan, have it come out automatically. If you're paying, your student loans consistently, have that. And the reason why I say that because that shows your credit summary is a story. It's showing someone your ability to pay back debt. Okay. So if you automate those things, it definitely will help you. I think you should definitely automate your cell phone bill too, because it's something that you want to consistently need. But all these other things, you don't need to automate that stuff. Right. Be careful of how many apps you subscribe to, because now you have an app for this, an app for that, an app for that, and you're spending like an extra $50, $60.
Don't even know the password.
Oh my goodness. You know how many times I had to reset? You're spending an extra $50, $60 a month on apps that you barely use, and you didn't even know that you hit that automatic renewal. So now what you thought was going to be $1 is now $10 a month. Mm-hmm. And so you be really, really careful, people, with the apps.
Why you saying that? That was actually one of the top 5 reasons why Millennial lost money in 2018 that we didn't know. Also, is about these online banking systems like Cash App and PayPal, because when we are cashing out, we don't necessarily do we do the instant cash out, which takes anywhere between like 30 to 60 cents away from what you're cashing out. And if you keep doing that, it adds up to about $100 a week that they just pocketed because you needed your money instantly. So I'm definitely, even when it comes down to the ATM transfers and withdrawals, those $2.50 just from the ATM and then the other $2.50 from the bank, those these are little teeny things that are add up to a good substantial amount of money.
Very good point. So that's why you will also want to make sure that you have a plan for your money. So if like someone like me, I would say I keep a certain amount of money in my PayPal. I don't really use Cash App too much, but I do keep a little something on there. And then obviously you have your checking account. Reason why is because those are the primary systems that I use. Most of the times if I'm paying for somebody, paying for a service, I'll ask them, do you have PayPal? Because if I go PayPal to PayPal, there's no fee. Okay. Rather than wanting the money to go into my checking account all the time, paying that extra fee if you got to pay for a service anyway. Facts. Then you might as well just keep some of it there, because then you have to transfer it back. So you just have to look at what are your plans for your money. Most people, when they're paying for our wealth workshops, our Eventbrite is linked to our PayPal. So I just kind of just keep that there and not move around with it, because we already know the next month is coming. So just have a plan for it. I love it. Don't get caught up in how many zeros is in your actual checking account. Like, I think that's just like a thing that we're so used to seeing, that we just, I'm gonna just deposit it. And like you said, you're losing out on money by constantly doing it.
And not paying attention to it too. And then I know I said last question, but this really is the last question. Because we got to wrap up, right? I know. So when it comes down to banking black, because we're talking about deposits and withdrawal, the first thing that popped in my mind was banking black. And United One is the most popular black bank at this time. So what are your thoughts and opinions on, banking black and putting your money back into the black bank?
I think it's needed. There's a no-brainer, honestly, with it. But at the same time, we have to make sure that if we are developing these organizations for us to have ways where we can bank black, that we have to make sure that we're operating a legit and proper organization. So I am big for supporting people that look like me, that are handling their business the way they're supposed to. However, I'm big on customer service. I'm big on order. I'm big on me feeling like, this is a place where I should actually be. If I walk in and your attitude is nasty, I'm not getting my statements on time, it's always a problem. Sweetheart, I don't care whether it's bank black, blank white, bank Latino, I'm leaving. So I think that we have to stop thinking that just because we're black, that gives us an automatic stamp of support. You have to, yes, be an African American, be black, and do your business, but have a proper business. How are you treating people? How are you engaging with the employees that you're hiring? All those things play a factor with you having a successful business.
Fact. And one thing that I hear about banking black, the one stereotype is that it's not consistent. You can't find it everywhere. It's not down the street at your local Walmart or anything like that. But the one thing about what I keep trying to explain to people is that if we continue to put our money into these banks, they can grow. They can get bigger branches They can be in each state. They can be in the Walmart. They can have ATM in the Walmart and different things like that. But if we keep making that the complaint, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
that's one thing that I'm learning. And I want to ask you about Angel Rich, because you're in Baltimore. She's out of DC. Have you ever heard of Angel Rich?
No.
Okay, I definitely want to talk to you about that. She's the founder of a actual a app called The Wealth Factory, and she's done so many different things for the African American people when it comes down to financial literacy and so much more. So I wanted to just
love to connect with her.
Definitely,
Absolutely.
she's out of DC. She was on Forbes for being one of the top 10 African American women in the world.
Definitely
right now when it comes to the wealthiest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's doing her thing, and she's young and in charge. So I really wanted to ask you about that because she's in DC and you're in Baltimore. But I want to get back to JB Enterprises, and I want you to explain to the people once again what that is and how they can find you.
So where you can find me is on all social media platforms, JB Enterprise, J_B_ Enterprises on Instagram as well as on Twitter. You can follow me also on my personal page as Joanna Jane on Facebook. And JB Enterprises, it's everything that encompasses Joanna Jane. So we are a real estate development company, O'Hara Developments. We are financial literacy, LPI financial literacy program. We are everything that God has placed in me to do change within our community. I'm an educator. I'm an author. I'm a woman of faith.
Let's go.
So you can definitely connect with me if you would like me. So if you would like to bring me out for any speaking engagements, wealth workshops, I've been doing them quite often. I focus on faith and finance because it's very much connected. I think the Bible is one of the biggest books that talks about business systems and money. So it's like, why not start there? And that's my personal opinion. So that's where you can be able to find me.
I love it, man. I love it. And I really, once again, I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the passion. Thank you for the wealth of knowledge that you acquire, to actually share to others. Because a lot of people, once they get that knowledge, they don't necessarily want to share it.
Yeah.
They don't want to share it. And if they do want to share it, they want $130 for you to get the information. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I appreciate you for giving it to us and making it affordable too, all at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. Which is definitely something I want to make sure that people know about. Every first Wednesday, follow my page. Every first Wednesday, you'll see where we announce what our next workshop is actually going to be. June, there will not be a workshop. Why? Because my sugar plum is graduating from the 8th grade, so we're going to party. I got a lot of things that's going on. I'm actually going to be even out in Martha's Vineyard the mid-June because we have an event called Social Work Voices that will be taking place where we are breaking the silos of social work, coming together, talking about how we can make a greater impact in our nation by pulling all our areas of specialty together. So I'll be there. I have a lot going on in June. So we won't be meeting in June, but we definitely will be back in July. Our tickets are $30. We offer light refreshments as well. And we bring in people of purpose, people that are licensed, people that have been, I vet folks because they're coming onto my platform. You're buying tickets through our organization. So the people that are coming out, trust and believe they're about their business. So it's every first Wednesday, $30 for the ticket. Come out, get educated, 2 hours to connect with like-minded folks and somebody that can help you get to the next level and continue your legacy.
Yes, and the crazy part is, as soon as you said social work, I'm like, she used to be a social worker, and social workers complaining they don't make no money, and now you in the business of money.
And you know what? This is the sector of social work called social work finance. A lot of people don't really know about that.
Okay.
Yeah, the well-being.
We got to invite her back on, man. We definitely have to have you back on. You have so much in you that we need, and our listeners need to understand, man. So I definitely want to thank you once again for coming through and blessing Revive today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No doubt, man. You already know each and every morning, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Turn your radios up, spread the word, spread the message, man. Revive is alive. Revive is alive. ReviveIsAlive.com. Shout out to our special guest. Make sure you guys follow her right now at J_B_Enterprises, man. You already know what time it is. Support who supports you. Let's go, man. Let's buy back these blocks. Let's go. Relax. Revive Radio is live 365, 24/7 a.m. to the p.m. Revive Radio goes live 6 days a week with 7 jam-packed shows. that playback on YouTube. All you have to do is go to Revive_POC on YouTube to find more information.
This is Joanna Jane, the economic change agent. We're buying the block. We're educating our families and our kids with financial literacy, and we're doing it with purpose and with faith. But right now, you're tuning in to Revive Radio Show.